Good morning, Rotary Club of Centennial. Will you please take a moment and silence your cell phones and let's get rocking. Byron, would you like, just took a nice mouthful of eggs. Would you like to inspire us this morning as soon as you're done chewing it?
In these times when it seems like weekly there's a crisis or some event, I'd like to share with you words of calm written by Sean Bird, an English teacher from British Columbia. If you would bow your heads. In times of fear and panic, let us be a force of calm. Let those who are trembling find us safe to lean upon. May we be the voice of reason. May we comfort the oppressed. May we show our compassion to those who are most distressed. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Fleck, we're going to start you out easy. Would you care to lead us in the pledge?
It was a tough choice.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Rowe, it appears you have the Rotary Minute this morning.
Yes, I do. So, good morning. I wanted to bring everyone's attention to this month's Rotarian, because I know everybody has been reading it. So, I have actually, since I started, I've found this magazine to be really informative and really gives a lot of information that I would never have known. So, and very well written. But one of the things, this month we're really focused on polio, but what I found really interesting was how Rotary is really filling the gaps in a lot of areas for social services and really helping people make it through, whether it's food, with certain areas with people who are struggling if they're unemployed or have these issues. A lot of the social services are more centered in the metro areas or metropolitan areas, and so the more rural areas are suffering. And so it's a really great article that I hope everyone will read, and it really shows what an impact Rotary can make, because we may be donating some underwear or doing a food drive, but when you realize what that means to the people that are receiving these services, it really means a lot and can help them both emotionally and with their daily lives. So thank you.
Thank you. We've got a lot of new members, so when you get assigned the Rotary Minute, I'm going to give you 2 hints. Either the Rotarian magazine or just Google search Rotary Minute, and you will find some ideas for the Rotary Minute.
Karen, you ready?
No, you are not alone, trust me. Ms. West, are you ready to do the Business Minute today?
I am. I just got back from getting my...
That's okay.
Thank you. Because there are a lot of new folks, and glad to see you, I realize that very few of you know what I do for a living. Back in 1994, my husband came home and, I'm supposed to stand over here. Okay.
So you can be on camera.
Oh, my.
Ever immortalized.
My husband came home and he said, we're going on a cruise. And so we did, and I'm walking around this ship and enjoying myself, and I said, I can sell this. I'd been selling insurance products before I met him. Then the office closed, and here I was. So I thought, well, I could tell you my history, but that's not the point. The point is the experience. And this was our river cruise. We went on the Danube from Budapest to Nuremberg by way of Vienna and Dürnstein and Regensburg. And I don't know why that is green, but it is. Anyway. Very green, yes. And the reason river cruises are growing in popularity is because the people who've done ocean cruises are looking for something new. And this gives them a way to get the access to the interior of Europe rather than just the coast. This is Munich in a beer garden. I don't remember what this is from, but it's probably in Vienna, though. Yes, because the cities of Europe were built on the rivers. We've got Amsterdam and Bruges and Cologne, Germany, and Frankfurt and Vienna. Budapest, which was really amazing and an eye-opener to us because our daughter had gone there. And we said, nah, we won't go. Well, I wish we had. Zurich, Nuremberg, and of course, Paris. So next time you're thinking about going to Europe and you want to do something that is easy, because it's so easy. And by the way, tours in each city are included. Give me a call and we'll talk about river cruising. I also do ocean cruising, of course. And for those who are not comfortable with the idea of being, and I'm putting this in quotes because so many people think you're just stuck on a ship, confined to a ship, I will talk to you about land tours. One of my favorite vendors is Globus. They are a local company, but they are international. Okay, have we got that through? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ann. Ann, how did you like Bruges? That's on my bucket.
Actually, that was on the Danube. Bruges up on the further north off the Rhine.
Oh, have you been to Bruges?
Nope, I haven't,
Okay.
and we will.
I have twice.
All right, good. I'd like to give thanks to Cheryl for doing setup. Thank you for that. And then Mr. Wexler, you're on takedown duties today, and I want to thank you in advance for that. Jacqueline, you did a phenomenal job greeting. She was here at 6:30 this morning, bright and shiny, and I felt very well greeted.
Forgot to put the name tags in alphabetical order. Overachiever.
But I did notice that the red badges had their own little spot, and the blue badges. Yeah. No, I was very impressed. She set a very high bar for anybody else who does greeting. Byron, thank you very much for that inspiration after the events yesterday. Thank you. After the events yesterday in Las Vegas, I think it's important to remember that. And Karen Fleck, you did an admirable job on the pledge. We thank you. We're going to boost you up in intensity level next week, so be prepared. Do we have any visiting Rotarians? I didn't see any. Okay. I've got a couple of guests. Stan Moore, who's going to be our speaker, will introduce you in greater detail later. Stan, go ahead and stand up. And then Patrick, you're back again.
Yes.
Has Tripp pounced on you with a membership application yet?
No, not yet.
Be prepared, Tripp. You know what to do. Go get him.
Right now I come for the breakfast.
He likes our rashers and sausages. Yeah. So if you've been to Ireland, you know what that's all about. Birthdays this week. Greg Cottrell is on the 8th. Is Greg here today? Didn't see him. Cheryl Sartain is the 9th. Where is Cheryl? There she is. And then Chris Bantock, who's one of our millennial members, is actually today. Wedding anniversaries, Mike and Chantel Ober is today. I see Mike isn't here, so maybe he's doing an all-day anniversary event. And then Byron, you know what tomorrow is, correct?
I do.
Good. Byron and Marilyn Cost tomorrow on the 4th.
How many, Byron?
48.
Wow. Very good. So for the second week in a row, we get to induct a new member. Colonel, approach the bench. Oh, well, and then Samantha, please come up here as well. Here, I'm going to move these boxes. It was a nice idea for the boxes, but they're kind of getting in our way, so we can get everybody. Come right up over here, you two. Fellow Rotarians, it is the duty of our Rotary Club to add new members from time to time so that we may not only increase our usefulness in the community, but also to expand the spirit of Rotary throughout the world. Today I welcome to our ranks and admit to membership Colonel Kevin Heckle. Rotarian Heckle, you have been elected to membership in this club because your fellow members believe you to be a worthy representative of your calling and also to possess qualities that will permit you to exemplify the true spirit of Rotary in your public, business, social, and private life. I wish to impress upon you that you have been admitted not only to the Rotary Club of Centennial, but also to a worldwide association, and by virtue of your membership in this club, you will be welcomed into the fellowship of any Rotary Club around the world. The honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it duties and obligations. You will be expected to attend the club's meetings regularly, to perform your share of club service, and to place your knowledge and talents at the disposal of the club in its task of carrying the principles of Rotary into the daily life of the community. I ask all members to rise. Rotarian Kevin Heckle, in the name of the Rotary Club of Centennial, I now formally admit you to membership in this club and affix to your label our emblem. Now, I don't know if you're allowed to wear a Rotary pin on your uniform or not.
No, but just here I will.
Okay, all right. I thought about that as I was reading through this, is that I don't know if the federal government would like that. Fellow Rotarians, I commend to you our newest member, Rotarian Kevin Heckle, and I charge all of you to welcome him into our midst. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Here's a packet of Rotary stuff, swag. So read through that. It has a nice certificate and ABCs of Rotary, all that. And who is your mentor?
John Wexler.
Mr. Wexler. Treat him well, but be firm. He's used to it. He gets this military thing. All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about the events yesterday in Las Vegas. Obviously, just a true disaster. I reached out to Randy Pote. Randy is a past president of ours who was in the Las Vegas area and now is in California, but he still has a lot of contacts. So I reached out to see if there's anything we can do to help. He's checking with that district, so we may get a request because there's going to be a lot of people with severe injuries that may need some financial help. So we may be jumping on board to help out any way we can, and I'll keep you guys informed what happens with that. An announcement, those of you that are signed up for the Red Wagon Ball, it is this Saturday at 5:30 at the Hyatt Regency Denver Tech Center. If you can't make it for some reason, let me know so I can try and get somebody to fill in.
Are we full table?
Yep. So you and Sherry still on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we did fill up. So we've got a couple of boxes up here. Mark Gale, tell us about boxes.
Yeah, I'm substituting for Ken Hope here for the Christmas tree event. Alan and myself went over to Buckley Air Force Base to the grocery store there, and we were able to pick up a box here, and we're going to need approximately 100 boxes, and we think this is going to be about the size that we're looking for. It's a real sturdy, durable type of thing, and if I would think that, and it's to be firmed up, if we all can kind of secure 2, maybe 3 boxes and keep them at your house till we get close to the event, we can turn around and get enough boxes to fulfill the filling of the trees with the decorations and lights and stuff like that. Not critical, but if everybody did 2 or 3, it'd be great. This is a sample of what we're looking for, this size approximately.
And your peach boxes as well. Those are really good for lights to go into those peach boxes.
But if everybody can keep them at their house rather than trying to load up one person, or Mary Alice will take a lot of boxes as well.
Mary Alice, were you aware that you were going to be volunteered? Let's talk about children's underwear again. We're almost done with this drive. If anybody else has any children's underwear, go ahead and give it to me, and I'll get it to Ken Hope as soon as he gets back into town. So I appreciate it. We're over 300 pair for that, so you guys did a great job on that. Mr. McCarty, would you like to give us a Madagascar update?
Yes, first of all, I have to say I'm just overwhelmed that we have so many bags of soap and toothpaste and toothbrushes that you've all brought and contributed to the trip. And then I have to say that last night I received an email that there's been an outbreak of pneumonic plague. And for those of you who are as unaccustomed to those kinds of things as I am, there are two kinds of plague: the bubonic plague, which is transmitted primarily by rats, and pneumonic plague, which is transmitted through breathing. There are 20 deaths in the capital city, and World Health Organization is concerned about the spread. We're going to have to give some thought as to whether or not we want to travel right now. I'm going to take all these things that you've brought, and I would encourage you to, those of you who haven't had a chance, if you still want to bring something, bring them next week as well. We'll probably be deciding in the next 3 or 4 days whether Barb and I are going to go. I did receive an email from Michelle Rame of Gems of Madagascar, and it looks like she's still planning on going. But we'll keep you informed over the next few days as to what our plans are.
Thanks. You had pneumonic plague, haven't you? So once you've had it
I'm
once,
immune.
you don't usually get it again.
John, thank you very much for that update. Ms. Zhang.
Okay. Hi. How you doing? I am too Greek to be able to actually do that properly. Okay, so Santa Claus. Had a lot of people sign up for the date of the event. We're at the stages of the planning for the end choices and things. The Highlands Ranch Club have volunteers as well, and they've been picking up a lot of the tasks, but I would love to have 1 or 2 more people be willing to actually participate on the last planning stages, which starts about right now. I have Mark here who offered to be part of the group that discerns the children. You offered. Yes, you did. Well, so Mark's going to help us. He's going to help us with discerning the different groups of children. But we just need a few more folks. We're going to have about 2 or 3 sessions, planning sessions, and then it's turnkey. So if you have an interest to do that, please let me know. Also, if you did not sign up for the date, that would be helpful. Raise your hand if you don't know what the Santa Claus Project is. Oh, gosh. And I didn't, it's Wednesday, December 13th. I'm going to. We're firming up the exact time. Usually it's 7 a.m. So Santa Claus is a project where multiple Rotary clubs save money, earn money, raise money, and volunteers. And we take different pockets of children who are in a very disadvantaged situation on a shopping spree at Kohl's. Kohl's has amazing sales on during that time, on top of the fact that we're a nonprofit, and we take the children shopping. And so a volunteer from Rotary helps the kids go through. They can buy clothes or shoes, but no trinkets or toys or anything like that. We cut the tags off so that when they take those things home, nobody can take them away and return them for money. Unfortunately, that does happen. So it's an amazing event. It's been going on for years. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4 different clubs participating, 2 to 3 Kohl's, and we'd love to have more volunteers. It's quite a large project, and it's a lot of fun. It's pretty turnkey at this point, but we are always looking to grow. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. For our new members, this is one of our signature community service projects. It's very fulfilling. You get these little kids. A lot of them, get mostly hand-me-down clothes. They rarely get new clothes, and you get to partner up with them and take them shopping. And it's a lot of fun because a lot of these kids, they don't know what size they are, so there's a lot of interaction. A couple of years ago, there was one little boy that was just crying and just having a heck of a time, and Karen wasn't a member yet, and she took one look at this kid and said, "You're mine." And by the end of the day, he was just smiling and giggling and had a bag full of new clothes. So I encourage all of you to volunteer, not only for the actual day event, but also for the planning, because this is an outstanding project. So thank you very much. Any other announcements from the group? None.
John?
Why don't you announce that?
I'm going to announce that. In our last board meeting, we made the decision that now that we're videotaping the meetings, if you miss a meeting, you can go to the video and on our website and view the meeting. It'd take about an hour, and then you can let Karen know that you attended the meeting that way and you don't miss your attendance.
Right, very good. Cheryl.
Just a reminder to get out your little pig and start filling your pig, because October 24th we're having Dr. James Gainsbauer come to speak to us on the research he and his team have been doing on polio vaccinations and the improvements that they're making to the actual vaccine. So if you could bring that on that day, we're going to have the collection of the polio pig coins and checks and cash, anything that you put in your pig, that'd be great. And Don, where are you? Don Shattuck. Would you please bring the bucket that day? Okay. Thank you. Oh, if you need a pig, they're up here.
We've got pigs. David needs a pig. Oh, John, we have a couple of in need of pigs. Now, speaking of pigs, Kathy Smith, please stand up and show us your pig. So here's a new member, already brought in a full pig. And so, Cheryl, guess who gets to grab onto that? Or we can do that. We can pass the pig while the meeting is going on. She's going to be out of town the day that we're collecting, so she brought in her pig early. So appreciate that very much. Travel gifts. Trip. We'll start with Trip.
I have one. I took a great trip to the Pacific Northwest last week. I'd never been there before, and I'll tell you, if you haven't been there, it's extraordinary. I just was completely blown away. We were in Cannon Beach, is where we spent the most time. We went through Astoria. We flew into Seattle. But anyway, we hadn't seen one of these lately. A nice blanket from Cannon Beach, and maybe I'm the only guy that just doesn't get out enough. But have you seen these marshmallows that are square now, the shape of a s'more? I said, you got to be kidding me! So I had to get a bag of those.
Trip, what's the expiration date on those marshmallows?
The year 2096.
There we go. So we're gonna kind of sneak in under the wire for the holiday party. Mr. Gale, not a travel gift.
This is not a travel gift, but it is a travel gift. Who left this here last week after the meeting?
Oh my God! You're so kind.
Good. $10, Trip. $10.
I borrowed it from Jessica. But not only did I lost it.
You lost it. Good thing she's not here. Right. Any other announcements? Mr. Pye, would you happy buck us, please?
All right, everybody get out their wallets. Here's the deal. At the end of this, if we've collected at least $50, I will match that pot. If you don't get close, then I'm sorry, the deal's off. I'll just throw in $1. Anything over the $50, I'm not matching, but it's an incentive to 50. So I'm a little worried about somebody like Byron popping 100 out. I see he's got his check out already. Trip.
He's ready for you.
I have one. A friend of mine, big Washington fan, sent me this text yesterday. With all that's going on in our divided nation, at least we can all forget about all the politics, controversy, and allegations of racism to watch the Redskins play the Chiefs.
Who won that game last night?
Chiefs.
That's what I thought. Tim, come back, okay?
I've got $5. 2 weeks ago, Cheryl put her house on the market. Got a contract yesterday.
Woohoo!
All right, Byron.
48 years with the same woman, $48 for the Centennial.
Cha-ching.
Okay. We will count that, but now I'm going for 100. If we can get to 100, I'll match that.
There we go.
Second meeting, just happy to be here.
I need an IOU. I'll go for 10.
All right, see, here we go. There you go. Yeah, I don't need that. No. All right, stepping up. When was the last time you even did this, Mark? I know you haven't won that lotto yet, so be careful, I know. Cheryl?
I want to thank David for helping me set up this morning. You credit where credit is due.
I think we have money coming for that? Yes. She's. I'll come back to you. John?
Yeah, my 48th anniversary was a couple of months ago.
So you only give $1? Oh.
There's 5 for the Broncos and also for our guests.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Okay, I have 5. One is because I wasn't here for Happy Bucks last week, but I really do want to thank John Peterson and Mark Pollard for the incredible effort they put forward this summer in helping with the fundraising. So thank you for that. Thanks to our Irish friend. And $2 is just to get us up to 100.
Let's slow down here.
What if we get to 150?
Here's $2. We just got 55 years married last month.
Woohoo!
Outstanding.
Here's $4. Gosh, I don't have.
You want to go for 5?
I
Just
wish
round it off?
I wish I could.
Oh, okay.
How about I owe you?
So, go ahead. I'm going to go back to Cheryl. Thank you for doing that.
Annie and I are coming up on our 39th anniversary birthday.
Or birthday. You wish.
I have 2. A year ago, I did a half marathon, a 5K, and then a half marathon. So this year I thought I'd do a 15K instead of the 5, which was dumb. But anyway, I finished it. I don't know how. And now I have the half marathon in 2 weeks. So let's hope, since the last time I went running was March. So.
And that's all you got for that?
I got this and
with hot chocolate. That's what those are for. Colonel, you got to come up with a patch for the Rotary Club. So let's get that through the chain, run it to Washington. All right, right? What? Yeah, you can. Oh, okay. Just don't get ahead of yourself. Okay. You still hold from last week.
$2 for no particular reason. I'm just happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you here. Diane.
$4. The first one is for my daughter who played quarterback in the Powder Puff football game last night in the rain, in the cold. She's such an Amazon beast. I'm so proud of her. Second is for Santa Claus coming up. And third is for our visitors and all our new Rotarians. And the last one is I posted on Facebook a speech that actually Lady Gaga made years ago about how the country, how we all pull together, and how kindness is the key to success in bringing people together no matter who they are. And I just encourage you guys to watch it.
Thank you. Andres.
I got 5. A couple of things. One, I got another email from a friend about the Redskins, and apparently they finally decided to change their name. They're dropping the offensive name, so now they're going to be known only as the Redskins because Washington has so many bad connotations. The rest of my happy bucks are a couple for the Rockies. We're in the playoffs, so that's outstanding. And the last couple of bucks, I want to focus on the good things this country has and seeing the response yesterday. So really grateful for our first responders, for our police officers, our medical crews, and everybody on the street that was just helping selflessly, everybody that needed help. So that's wonderful. This country's great. So one or two bad apples don't define us.
Roxy.
I have 10. Just think of all the 10 things I could think of to say. Okay. Yeah, no. No, one is for our speaker. I'm looking forward to hearing you, our guests. And I got to have my book club for the weekend, which was really nice, spending the weekend with my mom. One other buck is for the Broncos. There's a buck, prayers for people in Las Vegas and in Puerto Rico. And it's Tuesday, and I'm at Rotary.
Mark. You guys are going to make it.
I got 5, mostly because I like seeing Randy Pye spend his money. But in addition to that, my wife works for Rolling Hills Elementary, which is a Cherry Creek school off of Tower and Smoky Hill. And they've embraced this program called Watchdogs. And Watchdogs is a program whereby adults are invited into the school to be present to help kids read and play and interact and that kind of jazz. It's fairly flexible and everybody signs up. And I'd like to ask the Rotarians of this group, especially those located over that direction, to consider participating.
It's a great opportunity for one-on-one community service. I think it's a super.
Whoa! Wait a second.
Whoa! Whoa!
There are.
It's just $1 for. It's Tuesday, and I'm really glad to be with all you guys this week.
Outstanding. Phil, when was the? Oh, I'm sorry. What? I was just so astonished that Phil gave money.
Here's $1. And this is because Saturday night found us sitting down low in the stadium watching the Rockies and glorying in the fact that they're going to the playoffs. Who's going Wednesday, tomorrow? I sat.
Phoenix.
I know. He couldn't find airplane tickets. I sat next to a couple who found tickets for the game and for the plane, and she says, "Man, they went up. Everything went up, and but they're looking forward to it." So that $1 is for the Rockies going to the playoffs.
Okay, it's up to you guys.
You got the middle table.
I know. Well, because it's about to go over, so. Well.
Well, I have one for my friend Stan Moore, who's talking today, and one for the Broncos. Paul Horiuchi isn't here to remind us, but for Paul and his favorite Broncos, and for the Rockies.
100 more, right. Anyone? 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 Barb, you want to start counting that for me? We're over.
I've got two. One is for the Rockies, go Rockies, and I tried to talk John into going because we have a free place to stay down there with his brother-in-law and his parents are there, but he's like, well, we have a board meeting because we would have driven, but we have a board meeting tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, because I saw some on StubHub even, so not too bad. My second dollar is for my son who lives in Las Vegas. So yesterday I worked from home and I got up in the morning, logged in, turned on the TV, and immediately saw what was going on. And of course, my first response was, oh my God, my son. Go to my phone. He had texted me during the night to let me know that he was fine. He was at home and he was okay. Unfortunately, he has a friend whose friend was at the concert and she was injured and she's in the hospital right now.
One of these is to help Randy celebrate how happy he is for this generosity on his part. The other is our son-in-law is manager of player development for the Rockies. He's a happy guy.
And our tickets are going to be here when?
Yes.
What's the score? Don't say it, Barb.
No.
Just say we're well over.
Well, there's to make sure we're over.
$10. Wow. All right. Outstanding.
What if we get to 150? What happens?
You still get $100 from me. That's it.
I need an IOU.
Whoa.
I got a mic.
That's one reason I wouldn't do it.
No, I'm poor, so you don't have to worry. I'm going to do 5. Looks like we're over.
Yes, we are.
First, of course, for the Rockies. Yeah, Karen was well, I found tickets for $51. Let's go. I said, how the hell are we going to get down there? She says, well, let's drive. I said, we got 2 meetings coming up. And she's like, but the tickets are only $51 and we have a free place to stay. So then I said, well, my Mini is on a lease. I said, I can't pound the miles on the Mini. She goes, well, we'll take the 4Runner. But out of sense of duty, we decided to stay to be with all of you. She may never forgive me, but hopefully they win because we do have tickets to both of the games, the division series, if they get through Phoenix. So anyway, my $5 for that, and then for all of you guys, because when I was watching the events unfold down in Vegas, I immediately thought about community and that we would never see that arise out of this group. I don't expect to ever hear that this guy was a Rotarian, right? The people in this room and the Rotarians around the world, we're focused on bringing good into the world, and I so much appreciate hanging out with you guys every week. Hopefully we can help out in some way in Vegas, but again, here's for you. You're an outstanding bunch, and I thank you very much for being members of this club. I'll fill it out. I'll give it to Barb.
Barb, add 19 to what you've got.
118.
19 more. So 37. $137. Outstanding, you all.
Great job. Ms. Henson, would you like to introduce our speaker? And Stan, as you speak, if you can kind of hang up at the podium or nearby so we can get you on camera.
I am delighted someone had asked us to put Stan Moore on our list because he's a return speaker for some of you. Stan and I and his wife Kiki have been friends for over 25 years, so it was a delight to go ask him back. Stan is an avid reader, historian, a blacksmith, an outdoorsman. He's a third-generation Coloradoan and a graduate from CU. He is also a retired small business owner and a Vietnam veteran. When not reading up on today's and tomorrow's past, he's traveling, or more likely is outdoors. He's been to some really cool places. He and his wife used to hike. They've done Machu Picchu. among others. Moore very much enjoys his wife, children, and their spouses and grandchildren. He makes his home near Denver and has written 4 books. The first one he brought in here was about World War II. But today he's going to talk about Mr. Moffat's Road and Mr. Moffat's Hill, both historical novels. He's written Over the Dam, a novel, and Seesaw, How November 42 Shaped the Future. The 75th anniversary edition, it was a history edition. So, Stan Moore.
Thank you. You hearing me okay? First of all, I want to say thank you to all you guys, individually and corporately. Rotary does a lot of good, most of it under the radar, very local. A lot of people don't even know what you do, so thank you. I'm Stan Moore. We're going to talk about iron, dynamite, and intrigue, railroads in Colorado. This is based on my book, Mr. Moffat's Road, a historical novel. My interest in this came because my great-grandparents had a contract to provide meat and produce to one of the construction camps early in 1902 up around El Dorado Springs. So we have diaries, letters, family lore, that kind of got me started on this. If we want to talk about railroads in Colorado, we got to talk about David Moffat. David Moffat was born in upstate New York, somewhere around West Point in 1839. Started in the banking business as a young man at age 14. Of course, in the 1850s, that's what you did. You went out on your own. Ended up in Denver in 1861 after some banking experience along the way in Des Moines and Omaha. He started with First National Bank in about 1862 or 1863 and was very important in the development of Colorado. Now, this is just your basic map of Colorado. There's the Continental Divide, Nebraska, Wyoming, Utah, Four Corners, so forth. Now, here we've got Cheyenne, Denver, Springs, Pueblo. Now, during the Civil War, when the Democrats stormed out of Congress, one of the things the Republicans did was, they opened up homesteading, the land-grant colleges, prosecuted the war, of course, but they also funded the Transcontinental Railroad. They started with the Union Pacific out of Omaha, had it built west. Central Pacific started in Sacramento, had it built east. Provided some direct funding, bonds, and they gave a lot of land. They gave alternate sections 10, 20 miles deep, all the way across, wherever one of these railroads was building. To this day, Burlington Northern Santa Fe is one of the largest private landowners in the country because of all the land that was given by act of Congress, all the railroads that they've taken up. Now, when the Union Pacific started building, like I said, east from Omaha, west from Omaha, east from Sacramento, they were, of course, racing to make the most mileage so that they could have bragging rights. They actually looked at Colorado, sent a couple of survey parties through the Rockies and decided they wanted nothing to do with the Rocky Mountains. So they went north, up, across Wyoming. Actually, the Union Pacific kissed the northeast corner of Colorado, Julesburg, for 10 or 12 miles, but they avoided the Rockies altogether, established Cheyenne. Now, at that point, Denver was off the grid. Denver's always prided itself on being a hub. I mean, even in the 1860s when it was mining camps, they made sure all the supplies came through Denver to go up to Central City. Denver didn't like being off the grid, so in 1872, David Moffat and some other people formed the Denver Pacific Railway, a narrow gauge railway, 100 or so miles from Denver up to Cheyenne, so they were back on the grid. At about the same time, the Kansas Pacific was being built it was overseen by William Jackson Palmer across the Smoky Hill Trail across Kansas up to Denver. Reached Denver in 1872. William Jackson Palmer was another a young man who got involved in business at a young age. He was a general in the Civil War. Actually, it was his men who captured Jefferson Davis, who was on the lam when things collapsed in 1865. Anyway, William Jackson Palmer supervised the building of the Kansas Pacific across to Denver, liked what he saw. He resigned the Kansas Pacific, and he formed the Denver Rio Grande Western Railway, which was a narrow gauge railway originally in 1872, Denver to what is now Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs did not exist. He bypassed Manitou Springs, so he had bought up land east of Manitou, and he put a station there and sold lots and made a ton of money by establishing Colorado Springs. This was a very common practice. A lot of the railroad men did this. Anyway, he went from the Springs, narrow gauge, on down to Pueblo, down towards Trinidad. Narrow gauge because it was much cheaper to build than standard gauge, easier to maintain. The equipment didn't cost as much, could go around tighter turns up steeper hills. By the way, you know where the difference between narrow gauge and standard gauge. Narrow gauge is 36 inches, the rail is 36 inches. Standard gauge, 4 foot 8.5 inches. Do you know where that came from, the 4 foot 8.5? Roman chariots. That was the standard size of the roads in the Roman Empire, and that carried through the British. And Abraham Lincoln, when the Union Pacific was going, said, let's make it 4 foot 8.5, so there you go. Anyway, William Jackson Palmer was building, he built on down to Trinidad. And about this time, other railroads were coming. There were hundreds of railroads being built or being established across the country this time. The Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe was building down here too. They got down to Trinidad, and both the Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe, and the Denver and Rio Grande Western were looking to get into New Mexico, the Rio Grande market. They met at Raton Pass. Now, I don't know if you've driven over Raton Pass, but it's pretty narrow up there. There's room for one railroad right-of-way. There's really not room for two sets of tracks. And what happened was both the DNRG and the Atchison Topeka had crews out there on Raton Pass trying to stake out and scrape out a grade. Well, the Atchison Topeka people got there a little bit early, literally a few hours early. The foreman rode in on the DNRG, actually. But they got there early and claimed rights to Raton Pass. So Palmer was kind of shut out of going down to Santa Fe at that point. He ultimately went on around, but that's another story. At the same time, he was thinking, well, if we can't get to Santa Fe, let's go up to Leadville. Leadville was a booming silver town at that point, early 1870s. Thing is, the Atchison Topeka people had rights to the right-of-way in the Royal Gorge. So you had the same thing. You had the Royal Gorge War, where you had crews out there trying to claim the right-of-way. Actually, one person was killed, some fists were thrown, probably a few shovels were swung in the Royal Gorge War. Most of that war was fought in the federal courthouse in Denver by lawyers. And what happened was the judge agreed that the Atchison Topeka had rights within the Royal Gorge, but the DNRG had rights before and after. So he said, you guys settle it, you get a lease going or some kind of an agreement. So the DNRG leased the rights through the Royal Gorge and was able to go on up to Leadville. And this was important because the first train into the mining camp got the lion's share of the business, and Leadville was incredibly rich in those days. Now, at this point, well, this was the Gilded Age. You know, we hear a lot about 1% these days, the 1%. That's nothing new. In the 1880s, the Rockefellers and the Jay Goulds and the E.H. Harrimans and the people like that controlled a lot of the wealth. They controlled entire industries. One of the things that happened is Jay Gould got interested in railroads in Colorado and the mining, and he got in and he kicked William Jackson Palmer out, basically. Bought up enough stock, was able to maneuver. And he put David Moffett in as chairman, as president of the board. So this is the DNRG that David Moffett inherited. Plus there was a little run over into the Alamosa, but that was it. When he took over, he extended the line up from Leadville here, up over Tennessee Pass, to Aspen, Grand Junction, and on. Also down into Alamosa around to Telluride, and up and over Marshall Pass to Gunnison, up to Crested Butte, to Lake City, and on to Grand Junction. He also extended the line to Creed, which was about 9 miles from the end of the line they had. And what happened there, this was about 1880, 1882. He saw the need for a railroad to go into Creed, another booming mining town. He happened to own some mines there himself, but that's, still, there was a lot of other business. He thought we could take people in, bring in ore, make a lot of money. So he went ahead and built a line, that 9-mile line up to Creed. The board would not accept it. The board wouldn't pay for it. The board said, no, we didn't authorize this. We're not going to let you have this. So he resigned, paid for it himself. By that point, he was a very wealthy man, and ran it at a profit for a couple of years. He ended up selling it back to the DNRG a couple of years later at a profit. So David Moffett was out of the picture as far as the DNRG. Now at this point, if you were in Denver, you could, if you wanted to go west, you could take the Denver Pacific north to the Union Pacific and go west. The Union Pacific was falling apart at that point. Or you could go down through the Springs, Pueblo, up and over Marshall Pass down here. And Pueblo really liked this because they got a lot of trade out of this. We'll see. We'll come back to that. Now we had other railroads coming in at the same time. We had Otto Mears in his Rio Grande Western that went from Telluride, or from Durango around to Telluride on. We had the Denver South Park and Pacific. You can still see the grade for that out over South Park, that ran over Kenosha Pass, over Boreas Pass to Breckenridge, also down across South Park. As you leave South Park today, driving south, as you come up over the hill, you'll see a railroad grade with a hole in it. And actually, the Denver South Park and the Colorado Midland crossed there because they were both trying to go the same place. Leadville. The Colorado Midland straight across from Colorado Springs, across South Park, ultimately from Leadville up and over Hagerman Pass, the Hagerman Tunnel, both of them, to Leadville. There was a race between the Colorado Midland and the DNRG to get to Aspen first. The DNRG got there first by a couple of weeks. And again, the first guy in, first railroad in, gets the lion's share of the business. The South Park and Pacific came across. It had a line up to Leadville, but it also had the Alpine Tunnel down southwest of Buena Vista. It's about 2 miles long, maybe 10,000 feet tall in elevation. There was no ventilation in that system, in that tunnel. So the story is, and I'm sure this was true because those were coal-burning locomotives, putting out all kinds of smoke and cinders and everything. Sometimes, if it was bad, the engineer would get into the start of the tunnel, crank up the controls to go fast, then lay down on the floor with a blanket or a wet cloth over his face, hoping it didn't pass out before he got to the other end of the tunnel because of all the fumes. So these are some of the railroads that came through. David Moffett, by that point, very wealthy man, $10, $12 million net worth. Think about $10 or $12 million in 1900. I mean, no FICA, no estate tax, no income tax. It was all his. So he decided that, he owned the lion's share of the Denver Water Union Company, Denver Union Water Company, excuse me, Denver City Tramway Company. He formed the Florence and Cripple Creek Railway, which was the first railroad into Cripple Creek. He owned mines there too, but he was able to make a killing with that. About 1899 or so, he decided that he wanted to build an electric railway from Denver to Hot Sulphur Springs. Now, I've always scratched my head why he wanted to build the Hot Sulphur Springs, because in 1899 there were probably 150 people and 2,000 cows in Grand County. There was just not much up there. It was very difficult to get to. You had to take a stagecoach or a wagon up and over Berthoud Pass and down the river. But he wanted to build an electric railroad up there, I guess because of his Denver tramway experience. I don't know. Then he thought more about it and decided that what he wanted to do was build a standard gauge railway from Denver to Salt Lake City. Standard gauge, again, being the 4 foot 8.5. That's what most of the railways outside of the Colorado mining areas were. You could interchange cars easily that way. We give them access to the Pacific ports, which you wanted. This was pretty revolutionary when you think about it, because if you look, the Union Pacific basically went out the old Oregon Trail, the Kansas Pacific, the Smoky Hill, actually Topeka and Santa Fe came down the Santa Fe Trail. They were all established, well-used trails. He wanted to build directly, pretty much on a straight line, Denver to Salt Lake City. Formed the Denver Northwest Pacific Railway in 1902, went back east, lined up financing. He got some European money, a lot of New York and East Coast money, came back, started building from Utah Junction, which is basically where the mousetrap is, I-25 and I-70, up north across through Arvada, north of Arvada at the time, across Rocky Flats. Now, if you drive up Highway 93 from Golden to Boulder, you get up almost to Rocky Flats and you cross some tracks. And if you look left, those tracks make a big old S-turn and climb up the side of the mountain. And that was the secret of his success. He got up high enough across El Dorado Mountain, with a lot of cliffs, that he could then go up South Boulder Creek to the foot of the Rockies. They built something like over 30 tunnels in that stretch. And every one of those tunnels, think about this, there was no GPS, no computers, no satellites. You had darn good surveyors on either end saying, you start right here. You don't start 14 inches that way. You start right here and you build that direction. Every one of those tunnels was dug from both ends at the same time, and they met within inches on grade and side by side. 30-some tunnels. All of it, manual labor with dynamite. He decided, talking about the financing, and I talked about the Gilded Age a little bit. A week after David Moffett started building the railroad, he got a telegram saying, your financing has been pulled. Why? Well, Ed Harriman, E.H. Harriman, owned the Union Pacific Railway, and he did not want a competing railroad 70 miles south. So he put the word out. Edward Harriman was one of the most powerful men in the country. He controlled more railway mileage than anybody on earth, more than the Tsar of all the Russias. He was a very powerful man, and if he said, you don't loan money to David Moffett, nobody in Wall Street was willing to loan money to David Moffett. So he used his own money. Again, he had roughly $12 million. And he used every penny of it, every penny, because he died basically broke. He left $100,000 to his wife and daughter, but that was it. Everything else was used up. The Moffett Road got up to the foot of the mountains, foot of the main range in 1904, built Rollins Pass up and over with the thinking that, well, we'll just throw a railroad up and over and use it for a couple of years while we build a tunnel under the mountain. And actually, a tunnel was started in 1905. If you go up to Heart Lake, up past the East Portal, you can see where some work was started. There's a pile of rocks that were excavated, and they actually got down to bedrock. But then the crews were pulled off. Probably lack of money. We don't know that for a fact, but I imagine that was it, because they built the 26 miles up and over Rollins Pass, up over 11,000-foot pass, one of the highest through railroads in the world, certainly the highest in North America. Very difficult conditions, very expensive to run. They were able to keep the grade pretty moderate most of the way, but they found that, especially in the winter when they had to have a rotary snowplow going through those 12, 15-foot drifts, they had to have the rotary, a pusher engine, an engine to pull the train, and a pusher engine behind that. So instead of one engine, one crew, the coal, the water to take the train over, you had 4 or 5. Very expensive. That road was closed at least a couple of days every year that it was run from 1904 to 1928. The snow was so deep at times that they had to send crews out to dig or blast the snow so it was only 12 feet deep so the rotaries could go through. There was freeze thaw, so there was a lot of ice There was derailments. They had an avalanche take a train off the mountain once. Very expensive. Because of all that, the tunnel was not built while Mr. Moffat was alive. The train got as far as Craig before he ran out of money and basically had to give up. He was back east in 1911, trying to find more financing. He died back there. The Denver Northwest Pacific went into receivership 2 years after that, in 1913. It was run as the Denver Salt Lake Railway, reformed from 1913 to 1928 when the Moffat Tunnel was finally done. Now, the story of the Moffat Tunnel is there was talk about the state perhaps helping to put a tunnel through the mountains somewhere. They were looking at Monarch Pass and under Rollins Pass and some other places. Well, the legislators down here in Pueblo didn't like that because, again, a lot of the trade came through there. They liked having the rail yards. They liked having the tourists spending the night and so forth. So they blocked any legislation for the state to help build a tunnel. Well, in 1920, we had a frog drowner down there. We had one of those rainstorms, drops 4 inches of rain on a 10 by 12 square mile area in 20 minutes. And it was just upstream from Pueblo. It wiped Pueblo out. I mean, if you see pictures of that, the train cars are scattered like straws, and the town was devastated. It was truly destroyed. So a deal was cut in the legislature. The state would give money to help Pueblo rebuild if they would, the Pueblo legislators would stop blocking the tunnel. And that's exactly what happened. The deal was cut. The work started on the Moffat Tunnel as we know it today in about 1922. It was completed in 1928. And at that point, the road over Rollins Pass was kept open for a couple of years, but was never used as a backup train. The tracks were pulled up in 1935, and the buildings that were up there on top actually burnt down about the same time, snow sheds. To this day, that's one of the main routes. 1935, a cutoff was made from past the tunnel a ways down to the Colorado River, and that's the route you take now. If you do go out to Glenwood or take the train out to Sacramento, you take the cutoff, go up through the tunnel and here to Denver. David Moffat was instrumental in the development of Colorado. I mean, not only as a civic leader, but all the mines and railroads that he was involved in and owned and put together. So that is the story of iron, dynamite, and intrigue. Here are a few factoids. 1840s, the five surveys were made for the best transcontinental route, which has always been curious because in the 1840s we didn't have a transcontinent, but we were going to get it one way or another, which we did with the Mexican War. 1860s, the Union of Central Pacific were started, building east and west. They met in Utah in 1868, the driving of the Golden Spike. Kansas Pacific reached Denver, 1870s. Denver Pacific. That's basically a summary of what I've just told you, anyway. Questions, comments? I know it's a lot of railroad history at once. Yes, sir.
The Denver Chamber always states the fact that when the railroads were meeting up the line with Cheyenne and coming down to Colorado, that not just the merchants, the chamber itself arranged for them on putting money together to go out. Is that the railroad that they built?
Yeah, that's the Denver Pacific.
The railroad was turning and coming down.
No, that was from Denver to Cheyenne. We would have been a backwater had that not been done.
Doesn't sound quite as great when you hear it this way.
Yeah. 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 Yes, ma'am.
How many of those railroad routes are still up?
Not a whole lot. The Moffat Road is, and the that goes down through the Colorado River, and there's a Front Range, of course, and over in Alamosa. Most of these are gone. Most of them have evaporated. You've still got the Denver, Durango, and Silverton, the Chama, Toltec, one by Leadville, the Georgetown Loop, and that's about it. Those are all tourist railroads. Yeah, the Royal Gorge, yes. Yes, sir.
I'm taking the class over at DU, and one of the subject matter is about John D. Rockefeller, how he dictated to the railroaders to charge higher prices for transportation of oil. Does that have any relationship to the railroads in Colorado?
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of oil hauled out here, but that's illustrative of what the Gilded Age was about. Those guys controlled industries, and they threw lightning bolts. Rockefeller was involved down here in Ludlow in 1913 with the coal mine strike and the machine gunning of the civilian camps because he owned the mines at Ludlow. But that was pretty typical of the kinds of things you saw. Yes?
The railroad that ran through Wyoming, that was the Transcontinental.
That's the Union Pacific, Transcontinental, yes.
I read a book I'll bring it in next week. I forget who the writer was, but it was all about the Transcontinental. It's a fabulous book. It makes you feel like you're actually part of the whole.
Well, that was a.
Mention of Rockefeller's and that.
Well, that was before Rockefeller's time. The Union Pacific, Central Pacific, as he got active late 1860s. This was 62 to 68, but that was a heck of an engineering feat in itself. So, I've got some books there if you're interested. $15. So.
Stan, tell them. I'll tell them. The covers. Stan's wife is an artist, so she painted that cover too, didn't she?
Yes.
She paints all the covers that he puts on his books.
Any other questions? Stan, stay up here. We've got a little more work for you to do.
Okay.
First, I want to present you with a copy of a book plate. We donate books to an elementary school, and we place book plates in, so there will be a book plate just like that. And then we need you to make someone very happy, so I need you to draw a ticket and read off the last three.
495.
Mr. Livingston, I presume. So now he's going to try and draw the blue marble to win the pot. So, Stan, thank you very much.
Two chances. Right. And I think the pot probably.
Lift it higher, Timmy.
Over 150. John, I would not.
I'm just saying it could inadvertently happen. Clear?
Don't beat yourself up.
Oh, too bad. All right.
Hey, John. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I would recommend that the club buy one of these books and insert that plate into one of these books and donate it to the school.
So that'd be 115 from Randy.
Thank you, Byron.
I think I can do that. This club is getting cheap.
No, we're getting smart.
You can put the 15 out of Happy Bucks.
Yeah. That's all right. I'll just add it to my. In fact.
Wait, we got 6 people talking here. Go ahead, David.
Here's the first 10 of that.
Ooh. So you're only on the hook for 5 now. Right. Tim?
The bulletin says that the holiday party is December 2nd. I had December 9th in my calendar, so I just want to get clarification. No, I'm trying to get clarification. December 9th. Okay. So it's not December 2nd as in the bullet, it's December 9th.
I've got the 2nd.
So I guess we need to.
Bill's the one who's got the grant, so we're going himself.
Yeah. I don't have to have 2 parties. 2 parties. 2 places.
I mean, have the 2nd too, because the 9th is our Christmas tree distribution.
Christmas party is Saturday, December 2nd.
Yes. All right. Can you all stand and join me in the 4-way test? For all we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all